All right. I am currently nursing 2 ear infections in both of my ears, so I don't even know if any of this is going to be picked up or if I'm speaking too low. Obviously, I am in bed and I'm not lit well or anything like that, but I just wanted to get out my thoughts. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but I feel like I have a lot on my mind and I just want to say what it is. So, I basically just kind of want to discuss some of my thoughts about an incoming LAN, and maybe that's not, you could say, oh, that's not entirely fair because the LAN hasn't happened, but I feel like, you know what I mean? I just want to voice my concerns about, I guess, how about the things to come and maybe a little bit how things were handled. I want to preface this by saying that, for me, Metro Inc. as an organization means a lot to me because it is their event. I think it was a Big Dapple event specifically. Or, no, I think it might have been Gridlock. Yeah, I believe so. That really got me into competitive Splatoon, or really just streamlined me from being a casual who was the only person I knew who played this game into meeting a lot of my friends that I have now, into forming a team, into then eventually meeting some of those team members in person. If it weren't for Metro Inc. as an organization, I think my life as it is now would be so completely different. I don't even know what I would be doing right now, because I think that Splatoon and the people that I've met through Splatoon are a really big part of my life. And I think I can owe a lot of that to the fact that Metro Inc. took the initiative to make LAN events that were accessible to me. Literally, the reason whenever I talk about how I got into Splatoon, how I met a lot of my friends, it was because I think a Big Dapple event was happening. And at the time I found ProChar's channel. And I guess this is not interesting to most of the people who just want to get to the meat of it. But I was watching ProChara, and I remember I waited to watch a video of his, and then I watched it and said, oh, by the way, there's Big Dapple at this thing. There's going to be this LAN event of competitive Splatoon. And it was I was watching it, I think on Monday, and it came out Friday or Thursday. And it was oh, it's this weekend. And I was ah! I missed it. And so he was oh, but this is the organization. So, follow for more details. And I remember a ping went out from the Twitter that I followed, and it was hey, here comes Gridlock. And I was all right, I'm gonna go to that. And I think that changed my life, genuinely. And so I'm saying this as someone who has a lot of love for Metro Inc. and puts a lot of you know what I mean, has a lot of stake, I guess, to some extent, in their events. Now, this year, Gridlock is being sort of partnered with Collision, which I believe is kind of a bigger event in a convention center in Secaucus, New Jersey, that is mainly holding Smash at an event. I think it's technically low-key a big Smash event, but it's held in a convention center, and Gridlock and the TOs at Metro Inc. have essentially contacted and coordinated with Collision in order to have Gridlock and Splatoon 3 put on the docket for an official event. And I have been talking with a lot of my friends, some that are local, at least to New York City, and some that are not, about this event. And I think that there is a lot of concern and, to be honest, disappointment with how this whole thing has been rolled out and decided upon. And granted, you can't please everybody, but I think that there are ways to please like most people or a lot of people, you know what I mean? And I think that some of these choices may have been avoidable, to be honest. I feel like I caught a whiff that there was a possibility, because I remember people, because I live in New York City, people who are not local kept adding me as though I'm a TO, and they're saying, hey Sasu, is Gridlock happening? Because it's something like June, and we hadn't heard anything. And you see people in the server saying, hey, when are we getting like the details about the date and stuff like that. Yeah, it was just very confusing, and I think they were kind of like, you know, rumors and stuff like that, and I caught a whiff that, you know, there was something in the works from the TOs, and there was an effort being made essentially to expand the entire thing, because Gridlock is known to be a major, but of all the majors that there are, Gridlock is very different in that it's held by one of the local organizations. Of course, you have like, we had the Region Rumble, there's the H-Town Splashdowns, the Sunset Surges, New Inklands, Sea Battle, what have you. And when you think of Splatoon majors, there was Genesis back when there was Splatoon 3, LTC before it was done, MomoCon, I think people are looking at now, Gommel, and of course Riptide is coming up. All of these are like events that exist that have Splatoon 3 at them, versus you have Gridlock, which is held by Metro Inc., right? It's not like Collision, where it's the Splatoon 3 event at Collision or whatever, up until now, obviously. And so I think that Metro Inc., unlike these other majors, have a lot on their shoulders, because I'm sure a common complaint that they get is, oh, well, the space is too small. It's held at Brookland, which is essentially like this bar and also area for like tournaments. But this being a major, there are people who fly in, and there's just a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people have said, oh, well, like the space is too small. And it is. However, I think that at the very least, when I started to hear small whispers of, oh, well, what's happening is maybe, you know, the TOs are trying to sort of expand the event, have a bigger venue by perhaps like merging with like another event or something like that. And I remember already kind of seeing some pitfalls with this, at the very least this year, right? Because I will say, I know that there's issues with like licenses and stuff like that, but a lot of people have said, like a lot of people have said and complained that out of all of the Splatoon lands, Metro Inc. in particular tends to give notice of their events late. Like, I'm not trying to like be hateful or anything like that, but it does feel like, in terms of like when early bird is, which is usually under 2 weeks long, which feels very not good when you're dealing with a paycheck and you go, oh cool, my paycheck's not coming, so I'm gonna miss the early bird special on that. Or if you're out of town or out of state, or some people are coming from Canada and you have to book a hotel room essentially in New York City, like having to do that with less than 2 months notice. Now, I understand there's always like, oh, well, like the Nintendo license, we have to wait for Nintendo. But I feel like, in theory, because the same is true of Big Dapple, in theory, these other attorneys also have to do that. I think at the very least, maybe we need to look into possibly saying, hey guys, we are aiming for these dates, but we're still waiting on Nintendo, right? So if people book and then for some reason Nintendo for the first time ever says we're not approving this, it's not like, oh my god, Metro Inc. Da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? I think something has to happen where things are a little bit more proactive for Metro Inc. events, and especially for Gridlock, because a lot of people are traveling for that. And people travel for Big Dapple too, from like the tri-state area, and a lot of people just opt not to because it's just too far out, or it's too close to whatever the date is, and it's difficult for people to find teams. But when I heard about this, I was immediately like, it's just going to end up being that there's not enough notice for a lot of people. You know what I mean? I think it's super expensive to travel, and with what feels like, because I think we got just under 2 months notice when it was announced, and I don't know, I feel like that's like not being super courteous. I mean, I know it just feels like your hands are tied, but something has to change about that, because I have people constantly DMing me saying like, why are they da-da-da-da-da? Like, I wanted to come, but like, you know, it's 2 months out, da-da-da. So if something can be done to, like, signal, you know, a little bit earlier, or say, hey guys, like, you know, we're gonna try at least for August or something like that. The other thing about this is like, I mean, the thing that I'm grappling with, I guess, is like, who is this tourney really for? You know what I mean? Like, because at least talking to a lot of my friends who are from New York City, a lot of them are like not interested in going because it's in New Jersey. Not only is it in New Jersey, but like, as much as, you know, it's kind of being advertised as 15 minutes away from the heart of New York City, like, that is by car. And like, most New Yorkers like are not gonna be driving there. Like, they're not. Most of us, when we go to Brooklyn, we take the train. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure like most of the staff is from New York. You know that it's not really going to be first of all, none of us are paying for that hotel, especially not less than 2 months out. None of us can afford that, right? Maybe the people who are flying in, that's for them, but like New Yorkers, almost none of us are going to do that because we just cannot afford that, especially with such short notice. So 15 minutes away, not relevant to us because half of us are not going to drive, right? So it's no longer local because we're having to figure out how to get there. I think if you take New Jersey Transit, the train stop is something like an hour away. So like, that's not going to work, obviously. However, if you go to Port Authority and take one of the buses, then also it's a 3-day event instead of 2 days. So back and forth, especially if you go all 3 days, that's $30 to what's it called? To like go back and forth. And even then, if it's like, oh well, drive. If you're driving, you have to use the Lincoln Tunnel, and the Lincoln Tunnel has tolls. Like, you have to pay to like go back and forth regardless. Even if it's like, oh well, like just drive. Like, you're either hitting tolls or you're having to pay for like the bus back and forth. And like, even compared to having a Metro card, because you might say, oh well, you have to get a Metro card, and like a Metro card, honestly, not for me. When I went to Gridlock, when I was working, I had a monthly Metro card, so it didn't cost me anything to go to Gridlock. You know what I mean? But like, you have to pay for that bus to go to what's it called? To go from Port Authority to this place in Secaucus, New Jersey. So I feel like that is very much so a turnoff for people who live in New York City. Not to mention even me, who was like, I don't think I'm going to play. I'm going to spectate. A spectator's pass is $60. Gridlock is my local LAN. You know what I mean? I'm not, like, when I go and I see everyone, and I remember, I'm a little bummed because I was super excited, like, to really see everyone this year, which is another thing. But for me, because I had a monthly Metro card, so I could just come and go as I pleased. And then a spectator's badge was, say, $20, at most 40 or whatever. $60 to spectate at my local LAN. Like, no one, I won't say no one, few people are gonna stand for that. You know what I mean? I can't pay $30 to go 3 days. And then $60 for a spectator's pass. And so it is costing me $100 to just hang out with my friends and watch Splatoon. Like, at my local LAN, which I have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's, like, really tough for people. And honestly, on top of that, maybe this is, like, a bitter pill to swallow, but it's easier to swallow when you're told way beforehand. This collision stuff was just sprung on the people. Hey, this is what we're doing now. I could be wrong, but maybe there was, like, feelers put out for this, but, like, I don't think there were. And if there were, then none of my friends or anybody I know saw it. I think it's, like, a little bit not great that you just kind of do it without asking whether that's what people want. Because all the people that I'm, like, kind of talking to, everyone, like, some of the people who are even going, very few though, are, like, openly complaining about a lot of the stuff that's, like, going on. Like, a lot of the choices that are being made, that the passes are so extremely expensive, that, you know, I mean, people from out of town are like, New Jersey, New York, like, they don't really know the difference because they're driving anyways. But it's just kind of like, okay, but that's not super friendly to the people who are local. But on top of that, this isn't super friendly to the people who aren't local because it is 2 weeks out from Riptide. A lot of people have already decided to go to Riptide. No one is going to be able, very few people are going to be able to just scrounge up the money to get a hotel in Secaucus, New Jersey, the connecting one or whatever, which is part of a convention center, so it's also going to be, like, low-key expensive, less than 2 months out with very, very little notice. Like, and of course they're gonna have to pay for their plane. Like, a lot of people who are like, oh my god, I was looking forward to Gridlock, just cannot afford it because they're already going to Riptide and it is 2 weeks away. You know what I mean? Like, so it felt like it's not super friendly to the people who are local because it keeps talking about how it's 15 minutes away, but it's, I feel like, primarily talking about driving, which none of us are. And then the people who would fly in, a lot of them have already decided to go to Riptide and have, quite frankly, been waiting on the Gridlock announcement, and just nothing happened. They're like, oh, I guess it's not happening this year, just to hear that actually it's, like, just under 2 months away, and everything's more expensive. Like, I understand that in your surveys at the end of the each event, you probably constantly get the thing, hey, venue's too small. I would be shocked if this weren't the number one concern for a Gridlock or a Big Dapple or what have you. But I feel like maybe the answer to that is not to just, you know, combine these two events and then be like, well, we fixed it. This is a bigger venue. Cause, like, I do get the wanting to put Gridlock more in line with the other majors. And I think this leads me a little bit into another point, is that I feel like now the branding is kind of confused. I know that it's trying to be like Gridlock at Collision, Gridlock X Collision, or whatever, but I feel as though, like, I don't know, to have, because there's a reason why all the other majors are just the con that they are. You know what I mean? MomoCon or Gommel, Riptide is just the con. Riptide. It's not, oh, this event, da 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 da. And so I feel like the branding has it a little bit confused, especially because Collision is technically bigger than Gridlock. I feel like it's just kind of like engulfing, and like it's supposed to come off as this collaboration, I guess, but I honestly feel like being a sort of small fish collaborating with a big fish is fine, but granted, that small fish sort of doesn't mind being eaten up. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It feels like ultimately this is just like Collision. Splatoon 3 is at Collision now. And I'm not here to 100% say, oh, this is like a completely bad move, you have to reverse it. Is it inconvenient for me? Yes. But I feel like the way this has been executed, hey, we're just bringing it on you, we didn't tell anybody, people have been asking for months, we haven't been saying anything, even though we know full well, low-key, what we were doing. We didn't know if it would stick. We knew we were trying to get Gridlock integrated into Collision. But when people are basically begging us for a date, we're not saying anything. We're not saying, listen, there are things in the works. Because, I'll be honest, I was hearing as soon as like June or something that the event was probably going to be in August. And that's another problem. August. Because like Riptide is one thing, because it's got its Mario Kart or whatever, and it's Smash. Riptide is like a genuine, just like an LTC, oh, it's got a bunch of shit going on. It is when it is, and people go if they can, and I'm sure, you know, if they have their other stuff going on, that they've already taken off for that stuff, because Riptide tells you when it's going to happen, like days after one passes. So like I feel like as soon as Riptide ends, you probably already have the dates for the next Riptide. Like they announced that immediately, so you can take that time off your calendar and mark it and take whatever time away that you need. Gridlock, on the other hand, tends to announce maybe 2 to 3 months ahead of time, right? So it's a lot harder to organize their stuff. And when I say stuff, I'm talking about school. I was particularly surprised to hear that Gridlock would just be in August and not in July, because like most of the people I know in the Splatoon community who go to LANs are around in their like early 20s or so, and very many of them are in college. My team, all of them I think are 20 or older, but all of them are like in college, like all of them. And my co-captain, who was in college, was able to come last year. And we were thinking of having yet another one of my teammates travel to come. And when she heard she was in August, she's like, I can't do that. People are going, particularly college students, are going back to school in like late mid-August. So like, I feel like it's just not the wisest to spring upon people, hey, there's going to be a LAN, when a lot of people are just going to be fucked off going to school, especially when some of those people have already like made the arrangements to like get away from school to go to like Riptide. So like, because they're probably not going to do it twice, right? So like, I don't know. I just feel like there were like a series of decisions that weren't entirely wise. or just, I don't know. I feel like there was a bit of a real focus on like, well, we want Gridlock to be bigger and better, and we want to address this issue of it being too small. And you know, Collision is like a prestigious event, and if we're kind of like tacked to that, then we ourselves are getting bigger. And it's like, I don't know. It's just a little bit disappointing, because it feels as though this was like my local thing that I look forward to now every year. It's an event that like in many ways changed my life. You know, the Metro Inc. TOs, they are the first ones to allow me to get onto a mic completely inexperienced and commentate. And now I'm commentating for In the Zone, which is like a major, like, important tourney that people are interested in the results for. You know what I mean? You have like the Grays, and I guess like the Jareds and the Doc Hughes of the world. Like there are so many important people doing that tourney, and they let me commentate for it, and I got my start like with Metro Inc. When I'm saying all of these things and expressing my disappointment, it's not because I'm hating on the TOs, or I'm thinking that their lives are easy, or that they don't have tasks ahead of them, like a lot ahead of them and their hands full and stuff like that. But at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of things that can be optimized upon. I think there's like listening to the community, and quite frankly, this is gonna sound a little bit nasty, but I feel as though a lot of people feel very trepidatious about criticizing TOs. Like I feel like, and this isn't like just a LAN issue. I think at large, like whenever there's any sort of like vitriol, or not vitriol is bad, but anytime there's any sort of criticism or anything remotely negative levied at TOs, like I think a lot of people's instinct is to like kill that. Like it feels a lot like sometimes like the idea is like TOs are infallible, and even though things aren't being like maybe some poor decisions are being made, people feel afraid to say anything, because a lot of these TOs are doing it on their own dollar, on their own time, and they're trying their best. And I think that is why sometimes when a mark is missed, like you have to be able to say something to make things better, to say, listen, maybe this rollout wasn't the strongest. I don't think you know, springing things on people with short notice, I don't think not notifying people, not asking people, hey, there is an event, and an event in August, and we might try and like merge with that. What do you guys think? We know that you've been asking for a larger, maybe there were NDA signed, I don't know, but just a question of like, hey guys, if we were to combine with a larger event later in the summer with a bigger venue, how would you feel about that? Because if everyone overwhelmingly said no, and I could be crazy, I haven't checked the signups, but I wouldn't be super surprised if they were lower than they were last year. You know what I mean? I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, I wanted to like go to Gridlock forever. And like I'll be honest, I feel as though I'm seeing a lot of people posting that they were intending on going to Gridlock for the first time this year, and even though it's in Secaucus, they're like, I'm still gonna go. You know, this is gonna be my first LAN. But I wonder how many of these people are returning people that are not from New Jersey. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I feel as though like just there's been a lot. Obviously, I think that there are a few issues. I'm not saying as such it has to be nixed for next year. Absolutely don't do this again. But I think that maybe the community should be asked about this more. And I think that there are more things to possibly consider in terms of rollout and in terms of moving forward. And I just want it to be clear that I'm saying this criticism with love, and that maybe there are a few things that we need to think about going forward if we want Gridlock to be not just the biggest, but the best event that it can be.